as I said, feel free to lie on your back and be comfy. We'll come on down there together. That looks good. And as we get settled into this position, we're going to go with legs outstretched. And if that feels a little sensitive into your back, you're more than welcome to place like a pillow or bolster under your knees or rolled up blanket. And we're going to have our arms resting down by our sides with our palms facing up. So take a couple moments right now to settle into this position. Get a sense of getting those shoulder blades even and level, around the hips meet the ground. Make sure those legs don't feel like they're constricted or too tight in together. Let them open up and relax. Release through the hips a little bit. Spine is feeling lengthened. Make sure that the back of the neck is long. And let the tops of the shoulders soften. Now we're going to come into gently pressing the pad of the thumb and the index finger together. So with both hands, you're just putting a little gentle pressure there. And we're going to add a little activation with the breath. So as you start to breathe in your next breath, you can feel that slight engagement, pressure between the two fingers. And then as you exhale, you're going to release that pressure. So each time you breathe in, that little bit of pressure, and as you breathe out, let it go. Try that for 3 or 4 breaths on your own. Just really subtle, doesn't have to be a lot of pressure. Playing around with that idea of engagement and then release. Good, and on your next exhale, let this go. And then bring your attention up to your jaw and recreate the same intensity of engagement, just a little bit. And when you breathe in, so gently, put that pressure between your teeth, smallest amount. And then when you breathe out, relax. And do that for a few breaths. And on your next exhale, let that go. Now take your awareness down to your feet. So you're going to engage the muscles of your feet just a tiny bit. Sometimes you can do this with curling your toes under. Some people like to do this by lifting their toes up. One way is not better than the other. So the next time you breathe in, engage the muscles of your feet, your toes, just a little bit of tension. And breathing out, let that go. Release. And try this a couple more times. And then on your next exhale, let your feet completely relax. Take your awareness up to your thighs. So you can do the same thing with the muscles of your thighs. As you breathe in, you engage ever so gently, the front, the back, the sides. And when you breathe out, let them relax, let them soften. Playing around with that feeling of engagement and release. Now bring your attention from your thighs up to your hips. The muscles around the hips, the backs, the sides, the front, through the pelvis, all around the joint area. And when you breathe in, ever so gently again, engage these muscles. And breathing out, you let them release. And see how much you can get them to really let go. Now bring your attention up to around your ribs. And as you breathe in, gently engage the muscles around your ribs. Again, the front, the sides, the backs. As you breathe out, you release. Just notice the muscles, however it feels right, to get a little bit of tension, and then as much letting go as you can. And then let that whole chest area really relax, and shift your attention up towards your shoulders. And as you focus around your shoulders, you might notice the muscles around your neck, the shoulder blades, the upper arms. And in these areas, when you breathe in, get that engagement of the muscles, a gentle squeeze. Breathing out, let them soften. Now bring your attention to your whole body. Get a sense of whole body lying here. And just for maybe another 2 or 3 breaths, get a sense of engagement through the whole body. Just this tone that develops throughout the muscles. Get a little squeeze on that breath in. As you exhale, the whole body softens. Just another couple times. Good, and on that next exhale, you let that go. Just have a little moment to pause, feel the breath, gentle and smooth. Notice how you feel in this moment. And let's now get a little bit of movement going. We're going to start just by simply bending those knees. If you have anything underneath them, maybe move that away. And our first thing to do is to step the feet wide. So with the bent knees, the feet go wide to the edges of the mat. And we're also going to take our arms above our chest here. I'm going to grab onto the opposite forearm with our hands here. So if you're not sure, you can take a little look. Now we're going to get the knees rocking over to the left side, and then the arms draw across the chest over to the right. And as you do that, turn your head to the right. And then we're going to switch that around. So the knees rock over to the right, arms across the body to the left. And take your time with this. We're going to move opposite the lower body and upper body here into a few rounds. And you can feel free to make it like a smooth, constant flow, or certainly feel free to pause and hold if that's helpful. As you're doing this, you're keeping that gentle flow of the breath going or joining you. And I'm going to do that maybe one more on each side here. And then when you're done, let's come back in, walk those feet in, and let's bring both knees in towards the chest. So you've got your hands on top of the knees if you're reaching there, okay? And we're going to take a little breath pattern where the knees move away from the chest a little bit and inhale. And as you exhale, you draw them in a little bit closer towards you. So just a slight movement in and out there. Make sure the back of the neck is long so that chin's drawing in slightly. And now let's take these knees around into a circle. And what I'm doing is as I bring the knees in, they roll out away from one another into a circle and then back together. So just try that a couple more rounds here. Just a small circle around. Excellent. Okay. Now, from there, let's just hold the left knee only and start to stretch the right leg out on the ground. So lengthen it out all the way. And once that right leg lands on the floor, give it a good sense of reaching away. Maybe even point through the toes a little bit there. And now on that right leg, flex that ankle, draw the toes back, keeping that leg engaged and lengthened. Left knee gently drawing in. Good, now bring that right knee back in towards you, and let's do a switch. Hold the right knee, left leg gets long on the ground. Stretch it for a couple moments, get it into that pointed foot position. Relax into the neck and shoulders here. Flex that ankle, draw the toes back. Good, and then release that and bring both feet down to the ground for a moment here. Great, we're gonna get into one more little motion here on our backs. And we're gonna, first of all, bring the knees back up. So back towards the chest. Maybe just rock a little bit here to make sure your low back feels grounded. And our arms are now gonna reach up overhead. So hopefully you have room where you are, maybe adjust if you don't. Stretch them into wherever that natural landing point is with the reach. And we're gonna start to sweep those arms up and then landing down on the ground beside the body. And as you do that, stretch up both legs, feet towards the ceiling there. And then bend your knees down again and inhale and sweep the arms up overhead. And then exhale back through, arms sweeping to the ground, legs extending up. And so as we do this, we're moving slowly, making sure those breaths are long. And we're not too concerned about how straight we get those legs when we reach them up, just to where it feels like a natural point to stop. Waken up some of those leg muscles here. Let's do a couple more. Great, and then we can finish it up, landing those feet back down. Have a little moment just to pause. And we're gonna get ourselves moving around here off of this position. So maybe take it off to one side and help yourself up. Now I'm gonna be coming onto my hands and knees next. Our tabletop position with the hands underneath the shoulders, knees around hip distance. And first of all, let's just open up the side body a little bit here with a lean. So it's like you're leaning your shoulders over to the one side, and then you go right away over to that other side. Now the hips will shift just a little bit as you do that little side lean. Couple more. Good, and then when you're done with that, return back to center. Start to let the rib cage and the belly drop downwards. The tailbone tilts up. You might feel that gentle sinking of the shoulder blades in towards one another as the chest drops a little too. Our head and neck posture, we look ahead just a little bit here. We're going to take a breath in, holding this position. And then when you exhale, start to round the back. So you tuck the tail under and lift the spine up. Chin draws towards the chest. Good, and then let's take it back down. Inhale as the belly drops. Good, and it's this time when we lift up into that cat, let's also shift back a little bit. Hips move back. And then come back forward, breathing in, drop the belly. Exhale, round the back, shift it back. Inhale forward, good, and down. That's the idea. So we're just moving through that pattern now. If you don't like that shifting back in that cat stretch, you're more than welcome to stay where you are in that neutral plane. Seeing if you can get all those different segments of the spine moving here. Try that a couple more rounds. Great. Maybe hold that cat on the last one and shift it back just a little further, keeping that tail tucked under. You're not going all the way to child's pose, just a little hold with the shift back. Good. And now come back up and let's lower onto our elbows. Come on down and then walk those knees back so that you can get flat, so that your hips and legs are down on the ground, laying on our front here, but propped up. All right. Now, as we come into this position, just playing around with the feet a little bit, first of all. What we want to do before we add any movement is make sure that the tops of the thighs and the tops of the knees are angled straight down towards the mat, so that we're not rolling through our hips in any way. And let's try tucking our toes under with the feet. And once you do that, if you're able to get those toes under, see if you can engage the thigh muscles and lift the knees up off of the ground. The pelvis stays down on the floor. And we're lifting up through our upper half here at the same time. Chest is moving forward through the arms a little bit. Good. Now release out of that little engagement of the legs. Get the tops of the feet flat. Maybe point through those toes. When you do that, feel a sense of lengthening of the legs back. The thighs engage a little bit still. And go in and out of that foot motion a couple more times. So toes tuck under, knees lift up. Extend and then go back to the flat feet. Make sure the tops of those shoulders are drawing down away from the ears as you hold this back arch. Good, I'm just doing it one more time with the feet there. Awesome, good, okay. Now let's let our upper body have a little break coming down. Maybe rest the chin or the forehead on your arms that are in front here. Shimmy the hips side to side a little bit. It's like a little rocking. Try to get both hips feeling grounded and everything relaxed into the back space. Good, back to stillness. And from there, let's take in a couple fuller breaths where we send that breath down into the belly. So see if you can get a sense of the air coming in low, filling into the belly. Notice the movement that that creates. Let that exhale come out full and complete. Try that a couple more rounds. And now we're going to come into a thigh stretch, and this is where we might want to have that little yoga strap or scarf or whatever you have. Some of us will be bending a leg and seeing maybe we can reach that foot or ankle without any band. But if you're not quite able to grab it, you could get a hold of a pant leg or use something to go around your ankle. So I've got a hold of my ankle. I've got this knee bend, so the heel's coming into the glute there. You could have your other arm stretching out front, and sometimes I'll turn my head away from that arm, rest it down on the ground, or you could maybe go back to resting your forehead on that arm in front. Now that you're here and you're just sensing that stretch hopefully into your thigh, notice if on that same side that you're stretching, if there's been any lift of your hip off the ground. See if you can reconnect and ground. I usually recommend that if you're not grounding through the hip and pelvis, that you might want to back off out of the stretch a little. Good, last breath to hold this side. There, and let that go. Let that leg relax, and you can switch over as soon as you're feeling ready. Now see how this side feels. Sometimes they're very different. Again, trying to keep that knee in line down from the hip and that hip connected to the ground. The breath is long and smooth. Holding with a little bit of effort in the upper body, but not so much effort that we're tensing. Find that balance. There, and then let that side go. Good. No hurry here. As you're ready, you'll bring those hands underneath you, and we're going to be helping ourselves up, off of our tummies. And let's find our way back into child's pose from here. So that's where the hips, bum comes back towards the heels. Sometimes the knees will part out a little if that feels more comfortable. And as we lower down a little bit, we're not going to come all the way down. We're going to reach those arms in front just a little bit. And we're going to now walk our hands over to our left. So keeping the hips back, moving towards the heels, we walk to the left. And then maybe bend that left elbow to give yourself a bit more support. And really reach through that right arm. And the hope here is to get that sense of opening through the right side of the body. There, and then now let's take it through to the other side. Walk it over. Support your body with that right elbow. Reach through that left arm. Breathe into that left side. Good, okay, let's walk back to center. And we'll help ourselves up, and we're gonna go all the way to standing now. So I'll meet you up there. Okay, great. Now, for this first part, I'm gonna demonstrate with a pretend wall. So I'm hoping everybody has a wall that basically we just need access for our hands to rest on a wall from chest height. So just some kind of space there. And if you don't have a wall space that would work for you for that, you could use like the back of a couch or something too. Yeah, I see. And so don't worry about me not being able to see you. You can move in your room, get off your mat. It's no big deal. So the hope here is that you've got a wall in front of you where you can land your hands around shoulder width apart, moving out from the chest. So again, I don't have a wall, so I'm pretending. That's it. Clear your space. And then from that position, we're going to do, like I call it a wall downward dog. We're going to step our feet back, and we're bending from our hips at a 90-degree angle, keeping the arms really outstretched. And see what you can do about coming down, maybe bending those knees a little bit if it feels too tight through the legs and your back's feeling like it's rounding in any way. Good, that's it. Think about lengthening through the sides of the body here, tilting the tailbone up a little bit. Heel should be well grounded. Good, okay. Now, as we start to lift out of this, don't come away from the wall. You just kind of lift your body, keep your hands at the wall, and step your right foot in so the toes come towards your wall. And now start to step your left leg back. You might want to wiggle it back a little bit more and more here to get a lunge feeling. The heel could be a little bit lifted in the back if it needs to. And we're going to just get a sense, the wall is our balance, it's just a bit of support. We're going to lift the chest up, maybe gentle lifting and opening through the head and neck as well. So the idea here is that it's almost a crescent shape. There's a little bit of an arch in the back, if that feels safe. It's not just a calf stretch. I'm not sure if that's coming through, but maybe if it doesn't feel that way, you might need to get your knee in closer to the wall. That's it. Oh yeah, I think from what I can see on my screen with a few of you, you got it. Okay, now let's take it out of this and go back into downward dog at the wall. Same thing we did again, hands stretching, arms along. Create that 90-degree angle bend at the hips. Press into the wall. Gaze would be down at the ground on this one. Neck is long. That's it. Should feel like it's just a little easier this time. Take another couple breaths. There, and then let's lift our bodies back up. Last thing, hands at the wall, step the left leg forward. Walk those toes all the way, if you can, to the wall edge. Right leg is extending back, fairly straight if you can. And then a lifting feeling through the chest here. That's it. Maybe you notice that feeling of stretch through that front part of the right hip flexor region. Take a couple more breaths here. There, and then help yourself out. Okay, great. Now we'll come away from our walls and be on our mats, and you might not be in the same orientation as me, but we want to get ourselves in a position where we can stand facing the long edge of our mat, because we're going to go wide with our feet. That's it. Okay, so now that you have that position, let's turn out the right foot, and we'll bring our hands to our hips here. Now we're going to try to get, the hands on the hips are to help us angle our hips a little bit. We're going to try to get a little bit of tilting through the pelvis. So that right hip, the crease is going to indent, and we're going to tilt and lean down towards that right leg a little bit. And then you're going to bend your right knee, and you're going to shift your hip sort of to the side and then tilt it back. So there's a crease into the left hip there. And we're going to go in and out of that, straightening out that right leg, leaning down, and then bending that right knee and leaning away from it there. Yeah, I think you guys have it from what I can tell. So just try that a couple more times. You should feel a sense of stretching maybe to the inner thighs, the tops of the inner thighs, sometimes into that one hip. Good. And then we're going to find our way into just a brief hold with the full pose here next. So we'll come into the bent knee, and then take your left hand down that left leg. Right arm is going to reach up to the ceiling, opening up through that right rib cage for a moment here. Maybe a slight lean back. Good, and then come out of that bend in the knee, do that little pelvis lean or shift, and take your right hand down that leg. Your left hand could be on your hip, or you could reach it up to the ceiling. So you're just meeting this where it feels like a stretch, nothing too low. Take a couple breaths here. There, good. Bend into that right knee. Help yourself all the way up to standing, and we'll bring the feet in together. Let's take our right leg at this moment and step it behind the left, crossing back. Bend into your left knee a little bit. Good. And then take your right arm up for a reach here. Draw the tummy in a touch, and we're going to lean over to the left. So hopefully you're getting a sense of some stretch happening somewhere along that right side. Sometimes I lean slightly forward, just being careful not to overly arch that low back. And one more breath holding with this side bend. There, and come on out. Okay, back to your wide stance. Now turning the left foot out, Hands to the hips to begin. We'll just get a couple shifts going. So as a reminder, when you bend the knee, you kind of shift the pelvis up away and then straightening the leg, leaning down towards it. Seeing if you can get that movement laterally with the hips and the pelvis tilting. Good. That looks great. This is sort of a learning lesson of how we want to move this lower half when we go into these poses. Sometimes we don't get that shift going through the hips. So going to the bend in the left knee, right hand reaches down that right leg, left hand reaching up towards the ceiling, palm faces in towards you. Open up through that left side, take a couple breaths. Straight and strong through that right leg, feel that right foot grounding. Good, and then as you come out, you're straightening that left leg, leaning down, reaching it down with that left arm. Right hand could reach up or stay on your hip. Kind of opening up through that side here. Shoulder, the right shoulder, right hip opening up. There, good. And as we come out, bend the knee, lift on up. Bring the feet in again. Okay, let's take that other crossed over side bend. So left leg steps back now. Little bend in that right knee. Reach the left arm up this time. Again, draw the core in, maybe tilt the pelvis a little so the tail's tucked under. Leaning to the right. Avoiding holding the breath here. Make sure that breath's flowing. There, and then let's help ourselves out of that. Oh, good. Okay. So now this is where we're going to start using this band a little bit. I have the band here, and I'm going to place it behind me, holding on to the band with my hands around hip distance apart. Now, I'll stay side facing and I'll show better. We're going to go down into a forward fold. You want to make sure your feet are at least hip distance apart, maybe even wider. And we're going to really bend our knees as we bend forward here, okay? So a lot of knee bend. It's like you're moving your chest down towards your thighs. And then if you feel okay with it, let your head drop down. And we're slowly reaching our arms up, holding on to that band. So we're exploring that height of lifting those arms up towards the ceiling, dropping the crown of the head down towards the floor, keeping enough knee bend there that it feels safe in your back. And this is a really individual experience, I find, from one person to the next. So if you feel like you need to come up now, you're more than welcome. Stay a little longer if you like. There's lots of time. Yeah, I see some of you staying with that. That looks really good. Make sure that breath's with you. When you do come up, nice and easy and gentle. Just notice how you feel from that one. Notice the experience. Sometimes it's good to reflect back. Not just the surface, not just the muscles, but also internally. There, okay. I think we're all back. Now we're keeping our bands with us and we're going to come down to a sitting position. I'm going to show this one from the side. It'll probably just be easier for you to see what's happening. So I have my band, whatever you're using, and you put it around your right foot like this. Now my left knee's bent just a little off to the side. And we're going to explore how straight we can get that leg. And you can give yourself as much length on this band as you need, but we're also exploring how much we can lift up in our posture. So for those of you who know boat pose, you want to think that with your back. So lifted chest position. Notice my arms are straight. Like it's kind of common to see people get into this bent elbow, sort of look. Meet it where you have your arms extended and just that right amount of stretch in your leg. Lifting tall. Do feel free to lean back. It's no problem here. Take a couple more breaths to hold this side. Now we're going to take this leg down to the floor, let it land straight out. I'm going to turn the other way here. Once you have that, gather that band just in your left hand. Stay tall with your posture and reach your right hand behind you and rotate a little bit with the body. Good. So we don't want to get slumped through our back posture. Lifting tall, rotating, draw that right shoulder back. You know, you've got that, maybe your left elbow lands to the inside of that left knee. Could even help push off from there. Good, okay. And as you come out of that, we're still keeping the band around the right foot. I'm just going to move so you can see me. My right leg now steps off to the side, and the left knee would be bent. I often like to bring something like a pillow or a blanket under this left leg if the knee doesn't go to the floor. Now, this is where, if you have a proper yoga band, you could probably get into this next move a little bit easier if you have that loop. If you don't have that, we'll just kind of go without it, and I'll show you how. But for those of you who do have the loop, put it around your foot, on that right foot, so that you have a long tail there, and then you would take your left hand and reach it around your back to the right side and try to get a hold of that band. Now, if you don't have that, you could just be holding on just with your right hand to the band or the strap or whatever you have, and your left hand could still go behind your back. And we're going to lean ourselves over towards that side. And if you don't like that arm reaching behind the back into that shoulder stretch, you just let that go. Yeah, so this is essentially that side bend to our outstretched leg with maybe this addition of a shoulder stretch, which can be a big move. So we want to take care that we're not overstraining that shoulder. Now, let's just hang out for a few more moments here. Certainly feel free to even close your eyes. Connect to how the body feels from the inside, noticing sensation, any other feelings that are present. Good, okay, now I'm going to let that go. Come on out of it. And let's take a little moment here. Maybe do some of those windshield wipers before we do our other side. So I'm leaning back into my hands behind me. Feet are wide. Just going to rock those legs side to side. A couple times here. Good. All right, good. Now, I think everybody was on the same side as me, so left leg now. I'm just going to face the camera now that you know what you're doing here. So finding that perfect length of the strap. Leg is trying to extend, so it may be lower than mine. That's no problem. Lift through the chest again. Nice straight spine. Relax the shoulders down away from the ears for a moment. Now, this is an example of a pose that's active. Like there's an active stretch here. We are not just relaxed into this. We're having to use our body to hold the shape. So we're always mindful of meeting it with just the right amount of effort. Not overly engaging, releasing where we can. Okay, let's set that foot down or that leg down to the floor. Excellent. You want to hold that band in that opposite hand so the right hand is anchoring it now. Sit up tall, left hand reaches behind you. Go into a little bit of a twist here. just to where it's comfortable. Okay, and come back forward facing. Now take that left leg out to the side. You bend that right knee so it falls off to the side. If you were using your band with the loop, you can switch. Band would then go behind your back, right arm across the back. And then a gentle lean to that outstretched leg. One of the things about these seated poses, especially with our legs stretched out like this, they can be big moves. So it's important, like for this one, for instance, to not overshoot that first part of the stretch. See if you can just meet it at that perfect point. Breathe into it. Your body will let you know if you can go a little deeper. Okay, we're going to start to come up. If you had that big shoulder stretch, release that, wiggle it around a bit. Okay, I'll let that band go off to the side now. And let's take a quick extension through the hips back here with I call this reverse tabletop. So just have my hands behind me and feet on the ground, knees bent. We're going to lift up the hips for a moment. A little extension here, just to wherever it's comfortable with that height. Give it a brief hold here, a couple breaths at the top. Good, and let that settle down. Okay, now this is where we'll have to create a little prop for ourselves at home. If you have a bolster, you could use it, but you might want to just try with a blanket regardless. What we're going to do here is create like a little roll in a big blanket, and I'm just going to demonstrate that you could make, like if I had my blanket folded long, you could make just a subtle roll, or you could make it really big. And the height of your fold or your roll of your blanket will determine how much back arch you get, because we're going to be laying our back over it. So if you don't want a big arch, just subtle. Otherwise, roll it up big. I'm going to demonstrate a big one here, more like a bolster. And the idea is that we're going to lay over this with our upper back area, and sort of it's meeting at the bottom of the shoulder blades. For women, it's bra line. So laying back, your head will land on the ground, hopefully, and your shoulders draw back over top of that roll. And if you're having a hard time with your head landing down to the ground, you might have to bring a little lift under your head, like a little pillow or something. So this is the position. And I hope you have found something at home that will give you this little back arch. Be picky, make sure it's not uncomfortable. Support yourself there. I did have my arms out reaching to the sides, the idea to open up through the chest here a little bit. I wasn't saying how your legs should be. They could be bent or straight, so whatever feels more comfortable for you. This one counteracts that forward leaning we might get if we're working at a computer or any other job where we're leaning forward all day. So it can be good for the posture. As you take those breaths in, you might get a sense of that filling through the ribs and the chest, that upward lift, opening a little bit more. Notice if there's anywhere in your body right now that seems to be resisting. I know this depending on the height you've chosen for yourself, it can be a strong sensation. Just checking in there. Is there anywhere you can let go or soften just a bit more? Let those exhales encourage that release. Okay, now we're gonna think about getting up. Now just be a little bit slow on your lift when you start to come out of that one. And as you get that blanket from underneath your back, you're going to return to lying down onto your back flat. And maybe we'll do another one of those hugs of the knees in. A little bit of rocking there. Good, okay. Set those feet down, knees are bent. Make sure the spine is lengthened out on your ground, and we're going to take our left foot or our left ankle and cross it over top of the right knee. The left knee will fall out to the side a little bit here. And then we're going to bring both of these legs in towards our chest. And you might reach and hold on to that top left leg there, or you could reach through and hold on to the right thigh, anchoring it in a little closer to the body. As you do this, just check back with that neck posturing, chin in a little bit, neck long. Relax around the face. Okay, now this is going to lower down so that that right foot touches the floor. And then from there, we're going to rotate both of our legs over to the right. And it's just like you're sending that left foot down towards the ground. And you're going as far as you can go with that left foot. If it doesn't want to reach the ground, you might want to put that blanket or cushion underneath. If something about this doesn't feel good, you can shift those hips or move that left foot maybe a little bit. And for some of you, if you want to deepen it, you could use your right hand to draw that left knee over a bit more. I usually reach that opposite arm out to the side. Landing here is another 3 breaths, relaxing maybe those hands and feet a little bit around the face and neck. Okay, now lift up that left leg, bring it back up, slowly roll onto your back. And we'll come into that other side now once you feel like you've got everything rearranged and straightened out. Right ankle over that left knee. Bring those legs in towards you. Sometimes I shift a little, kind of rock, and you get that back feeling grounded there. Smooth, easy breaths. And okay, let's land that left foot back to the floor now. And prepare for that rotation the other way. Right foot traveling to the side there. Again, go ahead and prop underneath that, or adjust, or reach, or maybe help that knee over if you want a little more, as I said with the last side. And reach that right arm out to the side. And okay, now let's roll that back onto our backs. Excellent. As you arrive there, let's take a little stretch out on the floor now. Both legs lengthening out on the ground. Both arms are reaching up overhead. Take a little moment, reach in opposite directions here and open up all those spaces. Breathe in, really filling into the whole body. Exhales full and complete. Good, and then let that release. Now we're finishing up our class in our final rest position here, where we're simply laying on our backs. And it would be a good idea to make sure that you feel really cozy and comfortable right now. So if you're needing any extra warmth, you could have the blanket on top or some little sweater. Something under your knees if you want a little bit of support there, or under your head. Good, so coming into feeling really cozy and comfortable for this last part. It looks like most of you are settling in now. Definitely welcome in those closed eyes. Take a couple slow, deep breaths to bring yourself to this moment. Begin the process of feeling a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more centered. Scan your body for any remaining tension or thoughts that are distracting, and gently letting this go. Muscles softening, feeling that little bit of weightedness into the ground. Let the tension drain away. Breathing out whatever you don't need right now. As we rest here tonight, I'm going to have a moment to acknowledge just how ever changing and difficult these times are, and how in some ways much of what is considered normal for us is taken away. Some of our freedoms that we're used to. And as challenging as things are, and unsettling, it's good to come back to what we can be thankful for and what we can be grateful for. And so in this class, just having this last little moment to reflect and think about the most simplest things. that we can be grateful for. Starting with the body, and just thinking about the class that you were able to do. Even if your body didn't feel perfect, just noticing all that you were able to accomplish and the health from which you require to be able to be present here. What your physical body can do in all your movements in your day. Help you do all your tasks, your work, to move about, to go for walks, to hug and hold. And your eyes let you see colors and faces and smiles. And your ears that allow that sound, to hear the voices, the music, the laughter. Your mouth and nose, which you can taste and smell. And your heart and breath, forever steady companions, that life force energy. And also bring to awareness the abundance in your life, all those necessities of life that are there for you day in and out, the nourishment, the warmth, the safety, all those material things that make your life easier. Those that came to you unexpectedly, but also the things that you've had to work for, put some effort in. And also acknowledging the nurturing relationships in your life, new ones, the old ones. Those people, and maybe even pets, that you appreciate most. Those that bring benefit to your life. Notice how it feels in your body as you think about these connections, how the energy feels and whereabouts you feel it. And just being here, connecting to this gratitude for these simple things in our life, the things that matter most. Surrender to your heart, not your head, and say thank you. And on your next couple breaths, feel it come in just a little bit more fully, a little bit deeper. And with that, just a sense, a little bit more energy coming back to you. Get a sense of the body resting. And before opening your eyes, just a sense of the room, space around you. Welcome in a little bit of movement too. Maybe those fingers and toes want to wiggle a touch. As you're doing this, you're just gently returning. You're checking in, noticing how you feel from this experience here tonight. We're going to be taking our time now, just slowly helping ourselves back up. So go ahead and do a couple last little stretches there. No hurry at all. All right, it looks like we've got people back up to sitting there. Nice to see you back and hopefully feeling a little replenished or relaxed from that. It was nice seeing everyone out, and I hope you have a wonderful Friday, weekend, whatever's coming your way. Sending you all positive thoughts and vibes in these challenging times. Definitely namaste.